The Demonic Virtue by Niall R. Piper II. Part 1, Chapter 5. On the other side of the wall there was emptiness. His halo had grown dim, too dim to see what stood before his lonesome being. He used his wings to lift himself off his feet. Just as he took to hovering, he so discovered that the ground under his feet had disappeared. He flew further into the deepness. As he did, he found that his halo began to die. Eventually, the light extinguished. The darkness had won. He became a bit panicked at the predicament and flew forward in honest flight. Surely he would come upon something soon. Eventually, he did feel something, like small pricks and pops surrounding him. All around him, he felt bits, particles, strange energies. This energy pushed and pulled upon him ever so slightly. The experience made him disoriented. He looked behind his flight and could see nothing. He felt that same nothing within him. Ultimately, a small white spark appeared. Here was something. Maybe something he could hold on to. Something familiar. He dashed toward the speck in a hurried flight. As he grew closer, he smelled a stained stench, which had never before graced his nostrils. An energy of some power swept past his skin like a quick whirlwind. Before he reached the light, it multiplied into several specks and then into millions. Then, all at once, a strange energy pulled him toward the light, only to once more throw him forth in a burst of indescribable brilliance. He had no ability to resist its grasp upon him. As the power took control of him, changes in his reality formed. Segments of moments suddenly became more than illusions. He recognized the passing of time and the reality of spatial dimensions. Before he could bind his thoughts to any one experience, the energy released yet another burst. This second explosion was so powerful, it ripped the wings from his back and sent him tumbling violently into time and space. He had no time to consider the consequences. The energy took vicious forms. Violent rays burned his outsides. Tossed amongst the beams of light, energy, and sharp particles, he witnessed colored gases grow wide. In momentary lapses of time, they grew so grand they appeared endless like the wall. Yet just as soon as they were grandiose, they ripped open and tore into solid matter. Rocks rolled themselves into larger rocks. In twirling clouds of vibrant light, the rocks crumbled and collided with one another. Their impulsivity caught the observer off guard. Ferociously, these chunks of matter struck the vulnerable ragdoll of an angel. The collisions brought forth heat. They began to melt into one another. A single molten rock caught a pull on his being and so sucked onto him. Another large mass smashed into the molten rock, sandwiching the angel in between. He nearly melted away between the energized masses. He attempted to reach forth and scream as he burned in the newly formed rock coffin, but the pain itself was so unbearable, he failed to even draw a breath. Addifer was not well experienced to such sensations of pain, for paradise did not have much to offer in that category. The burning stung and the rotting flesh filled his nostrils with an unpleasant stink. He felt a deep darkness within him as he fell unconscious. Feeling useless, he stopped resisting the shell forming around his body. The chaos consumed and paralyzed Addifer. Struggle was hopeless. He truly felt powerless. He truly was powerless. He refused to admit this. As he slipped into a coma, he let out a sigh and closed his eyelids. Frustration, fear, and worthlessness filled the rock cocoon. This has been Part 1, Chapter 5 of The Demonic Virtue. Tune in next week for Part 1, Chapter 6 of The Demonic Virtue by Niall R. Piper II.